Right, just on 2:00, so we might start if that's all right. Acknowledgement of country.
Sure. The Murray Council would like to acknowledge and pay respect to the traditional custodians of the land, the Ngadjuri, Naywong, Nangaraku, Narkat, Ngarrindjeri and Merrimack peoples of the Mid-Murray lands and waters. It is upon their ancestral lands and waters that the Mid-Murray Council meets and operates, and Council pays respect to elders past and present and their spiritual beliefs that are of continuing importance to those First Nations peoples of today. Council further acknowledges the contributions and important role that the First Nations peoples continue to play within the community, and we extend that respect to any peoples in attendance here today.
Thank you. We've got apologies from Peter Fairley-Jones, Paul Francis and Heather Caudle. Various reasons of illness, travel and got better things to do. Is there any other apologies that I need to know? No? Okay. Minutes of the meeting of the 7th of May, where Peter was chairing them for us. Is everybody happy that they're true and correct and happy for me to sign them as the presiding officer in attendance? Okay, I'll do that. Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest? Nope. Right, and there's no deputations. Clive.
Item number 1, we've got the audit management interim report, and we've got Tim and Yang here from Galpins. Welcome to both of yous. And I'll just give a brief overview of the report. So basically there was a number of findings which were found from Galpins, which 3 of those were medium and 2 being of low, and I'll just quickly go through that. The first one was low risk general ledger, manual journal entries from the system were not being reviewed on a regular basis. So management's response has been that we're managed now put in place a monthly procedure to review the journal batches, and we've got a file of those which are authorised, but we'll cross-reference those with the actual journals that have been processed within SynergySoft and obviously have an audit trail to follow that, so we can show that that's been done on a monthly basis. And the other one was, the next one was a low risk of a review of the IT users for the financial modules. So once again, after this was highlighted, management's done a comprehensive review, and on a quarterly basis we'll continue to do a review and once again have an audit trail to ensure that those tasks are obviously being done on a quarterly basis. The next one was a moderate risk, being the fixed assets from the asset management plan are overdue for review, and there was a number of those which were the transport asset management plan and the building, land and structural asset management plan. So what the responses is that the transport asset management plan, the valuation is currently being undertaken for those, and the asset management plan for transport assets will be presented to the Audit Committee on the 5th of November 2026. And with the land and buildings and structures, this will be presented to the Audit and Risk Committee meeting also on the 5th of November 2026 to satisfy that risk. The next one was fixed assets including the asset register are not linked or reconciled to the GIS system, and that was a moderate risk. And at the moment, the council's has their recruitment presently underway for a new position of management of assets and capital works. So it's appropriate that we're just hanging off to let that manager go forward with that project in selecting a GIS/asset system for the council. So as that will, as soon as that appointments is formed, obviously they will facilitate in looking at a GIS platform for the integration of the asset system. The next one was a low one, which is the last one, purchasing, procurement, contracting, purchase orders issued after the date of invoices. So what we've done is we've started an education process to ensure that purchase orders are raised either at prior to or at least on the day of the purchase of goods and services, and we'll just do a bit of a spot check to follow up on those. I'm not sure whether the auditors would like to add anything to that.
Well, seeing as we're here, I'll might as well say a few words. But thank you, Clive. That's a very comprehensive overview of the contents of the letter. So I'll start maybe at just with a higher level sort of overview of the audit. So firstly, to say that the audit went very well. It was a smooth process on site, and happy with how that all went. The results of the letter are actually very good. So the vast majority of controls that we looked at were operating effectively, and no high risk findings. So that that means that we're almost certainly in a position to issue an unmodified opinion on the internal financial controls. Obviously, we'll do a bit more work at final, and there's certain internal controls that are only done once a year or as part of the year-end process, and we need to make sure that things have continued going as well as they have been for the remainder of the year. But I remain highly confident that it'll be an unmodified opinion on the controls. So the 35 core controls there that we summarise in section 1.4 of our table, those controls are ones that we will look at every year of the 5-year contract. And so as we go along in that table, you'll have a bit of a running record of where there's been improvements or how things have tracked over the years, which is always, I think, useful to have that oversight. And we do, from time to time, look at other controls as well. So we won't necessarily restrict our testing to just those 35. If there's an emerging risk or we need to chase a rabbit down a hole or want to get some additional confidence or assurance around some other testing that we're doing, then we will look at other controls as well. But certainly for the purposes of our reporting, will make sure that we always look at those 35 that we've sort of identified as the really critical sort of core controls, which if they're working effectively, you're in a very good position to be able to say that we have an appropriately designed and operating internal financial controls framework. In terms of the individual findings themselves, again, I think Clive's given a very good overview there. I'm not sure there's really anything that I can add other than to say that we were happy with the management responses and also happy with the back and forth we had once we issued our draft letter, because we do provide management with a copy of that and the administration so that they can fact check it, and we can have a bit of a discussion about, what are the appropriate recommendations and what's going to actually be able to be implemented and work for you. That resulted in some good discussion, some good back and forth. Clive in particular provided lots of useful insight into the IT access and how that all works, and how to interpret some of those reports. So I certainly appreciated that and found that really useful. And we've also, as well as the standard sort of nuts and bolts testing and discussions that you have for the key business cycles and balances, we've had some good discussion around the CWMS schemes and the work that's being done in that space, and the implications there for financial sustainability and your measures and your long-term financial plan and how that all fits together. We'll be having a bit more of a look at that at year end as well. That'll be a bit of a focus, particularly being our first year. That's one of the challenges that's unique to this council is managing those schemes. That's probably enough from me, but very happy to take any questions.
Any questions from committee members?
Tim, just with the journal entries, as I understand it, there are two issues. There's the system allowing somebody to post and approve a journal, but then there's a manual review process. Was there evidence that the manual review process was working? I just couldn't work out which issue we were focused on. That there should be evidence of the review. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. No, that's a good question. So, yes, there was evidence of those manual reviews, and those manual reviews are being routinely undertaken. So, what we're talking about here, and the reason it's only a low risk, is just that sort of residual sort of gap in the design of the controls, which means that somebody could potentially post, say a malicious journal, for example, and because the review of the journal is something that's manually initiated, so you post a journal, you then go and ask for it to be reviewed. You can potentially just post a journal and not tell anyone you've done it, and it won't then form part of that standard review process. So what we've sort of suggested here is that in addition to the existing process, which is operating as designed, effectively as designed, that we just tweak the design of the controls slightly to introduce that additional monitoring that ensures that we've got the completeness of the journals that are being reviewed.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, that's good. And I just had a question on the asset revaluation. So, as I understand it, the revaluation will be at the 1st of July 2026. And I guess it's as much directed at Clive, but will we be indexing looking forward to the financial statements, will we be indexing the assets up until 30th of June 2026?
So the process we've done as far as the annual financial statements and preparing the financial statements, as per the previous year, we index the opening balances of the transport assets. Because there wasn't a revaluation occurring.
So they'll be revalued at the 1st July, but they'll be indexed up to the 30th of June.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And hopefully, there's not too much difference between what the closing balance is at 30th of June 2026 and what the revaluation and the depreciation will occur from that revaluation. Yep.
Okay, thank you. That's it from me. Thank you.
Any other questions? There being none, the recommendation is that the audit management report, interim report, on the agenda for today's meeting be received. All those in favour? Thank you. These two ladies nominated, proposed and seconded, if you didn't say that happening.
You have to be quick.
Right. The audit plan for the... Right?
The auditor might want to just hang around in case there's any questions just for the audit plan for 2020, for 2025-26. So I don't know whether the independents of any of the members have got any questions, but if you could just hold on for 1 or 2 more minutes, that'd be appreciated.
Yeah, certainly.
So basically, as a report, as attached is the audit risk for the audit risk committee, an outline of the annual audit, how it be conducted, including the scope, objectives, procedures, and the resources. And the key matters identified in the plan are the valuation of infrastructure assets, valuation of land and buildings, accounting treatment of capitalisation of assets, revenue recognition, and management override of controls. So that's just my overview of that, and obviously there was a lot of content in the plan itself. So I'm not sure whether anyone's got any questions or any comments.
Do you want to say anything at this stage?
Yeah, I'm happy just to provide a few quick comments on the plan. So by default, these plans are, I suppose, to quite a large degree, fairly generic. I'm sure you've seen similar plans come across your desk from other auditors, and that's because obviously they need to comply with the requirements of the auditing standards, which really do sort of dictate the content of the plan and the sorts of things that we have to consider. So the things that where it becomes more customised towards your specific council are in the consideration of those key audit matters.
Lost him.
And also the focus on, which is those core 35 controls per the.
I think we got the message.
You'll notice there are other things that we look at that don't sort of form part of the plan. And so I've talked about, for example, the CWMS work that's been happening and place a bit of emphasis on financial sustainability and wanting to gain an understanding of where you sit in terms of your financial sustainability. Now, that's not part of the core audit plan per se, but it is something that I think is really important as a value add and as a moral responsibility for external auditors working in an important issue, and it's getting a lot of airtime in the current environment. And external auditors are, a key stakeholder in that, and we are uniquely placed. Financial sustainability and whether you've got the right sort of governance systems and financial control processes in place to support your long-term financial sustainability. I do work with. I'm on a working party that's looking at financial sustainability in the sector, and auditors have certainly been identified within there as being in a position to add some value. Doing that, we will be looking into that at year end and spending a bit of time to research and understand and have some discussions with the administration around that. And that's something that in my role as chair of the auditors increasing, some of the attention that we pay to financial sustainability.
Right, thank you, Tim. Any questions from any committee members?
No.
No, we only heard bits of what you said, Tim, but I really like the idea of you guys having a look into financial sustainability, considering that 75% of regional councils haven't had a sustainable outcome. I think, more needs to be done. So thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate your attendance and the work you've done today. See you later. Okay, the recommendation is
thank you very much for having us.
Okay. We receive the plan. Any discussion? There being none. Sorry, Yang wants to say something. No?
I think they've gone.
I think she's frozen. She's waving. Frozen in a farewell pose, I think.
So, are you happy for the report to be received?
Yep.
Thank you. Ladies, again, thank you. Right, 7.3.
What we've got is Glenn on the line.
Somewhere?
Tim, I'm here.
Coming in. Good afternoon.
No.
Yeah, through the chair, presenting the Bow Hill Asset Management Plan on for water and TV assets. The valuation was conducted by APV as they'd done the buildings as well on the land, structures and open space. And in their time when they were here, they oversaw and looked at the assets, but didn't value them part of the buildings. It's been separated from that, but they were aware of those assets, and the people they had on board weren't specialists in the field at that time, only in the buildings when they did their building lands and open space revaluation. So it's showing that the assets valuation, replacement value for the water at $489,000 and TV assets at $364,328. And then making a note on the executive summary there's two other items that form part of the open space land and buildings valuation is the Bow Hill transmission tower at $55,000 in value, and the Bow Hill equipment hut at $26,400, but they'll form part of the buildings review. This is just to go to council for endorsement for community consultation. I was just wondering if you had any questions or concerns with the AMP.
If I could just, Glenn, on page 60, in about the centre of the page, there's a paragraph which finishes with the sentence, service levels for asset delivery will assume a responsibility to council. However, when evaluated on a base delivery assumption may be discontinued as a discretional service provision when developed. Can you just explain that and also just respond to my concern that if it goes out to public consultation, the word discontinued will raise a storm on its own. So if we can just explain a little bit what that means, and if it does mean, if it doesn't mean to discontinue,
in the asset management plan,
strategy?
In the asset management plan, there's on page 41, an improvement monitoring plan. And part of the discussions I had from this document, it would form into a sustainability report to go to council with an update of the water services and TV to determine future service delivery requirements. That's probably what it's referring to. Is it an asset they wish to continue and manage and operate? That would form part of the sustainability report.
Okay. So that just means then when it comes to council that we'll need to have a think about reputational issues and the likely response in terms of the wording during the open public consultation. Yep.
It's quite a difficult sentence to understand, isn't it? Really?
Sorry?
It's quite a difficult sentence. I've read it.
Yeah, it was
3 or 4 times trying to
work
out what it was actually saying. But
yeah, and I just thought somebody just reading the equivalent of that might panic. We've seen that before with people in the public.
Can we make that clearer before it goes?
Yeah, would it come to us?
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. Or just in the context, just an acknowledgement somewhere that that is a big issue if it comes for a serious discussion about discontinuing it.
My question is probably more to Clive. Attachment 1 has like the expenses and income for the water. Is the actual water usage, as in the licence that council holds, is the cost of that water factored into the expense?
No, it's not, and you'd have to, want to calculate how that should be accounted for.
Would it be like, I would have thought.
Originally, when I had a look, fees, the original fees included like an allocation to purchase a permanent licence, but they're exceeding that original amount. So just off the top of my head, I think was 30 megalitres. Yep. Were originally purchased for Bow Hill Water, and I think over the last couple of years they may have gone over that by about 20%. So I suppose just I kept on looking at the amount of water allocations which were available. So I would have done a quick report to council to increase their fees, their usage fees, if it kept at 67%, for example, at the beginning.
Shouldn't this be like a full cost attribution thing? Is that the water is coming from administration? It should be costed against Bow Hill, so we know what the ins and outs of the actual scheme is costing us. Because to me, it seems like all the income we've said, oh, it's going to cost this much to fix it, over the 10 years. So let's take off all the income. Well, that income is actually the cost of the water,
so
actually of the product.
So the original fees were raised to purchase 30 megalitres. So whether you kind of say the fees were set to purchase that, so then does that belong to it?
Who bought it? Did the Bow Hill community effectively buy it?
No, we've got the council owns the water. Yeah.
I think
is this like I suppose for clarification, we need to clarify the accounting treatment of that.
I think more work needs to be done on that. Like if a SCOSA came to us tomorrow and said, are you charging the right rate? We'd need to be able to show them something. So
whether you calculate that on what temporary water is for the year, or whether
That would be what council
current
does.
valuation of that is, and then that of the
Water leasing about $400 a meg currently,
Yeah.
and to buy it's just over 9,000 a meg.
And it's probably something that council needs to look at, is having a policy on what we do with our water, because we have excess water. So as part of that policy, what are we going to do?
Usually 13 or 30,
30,
30,
yeah.
about 20% is another six. That's
Yeah, the last time I did a calculation, I think they used 36, and that was for the previous year, 2024-25. Like the final readings have been done for 25-26, but I haven't looked at the total amount they use. Keeping in mind that, that's very probably dependent on the water, and as more and more people go back there, they'll use more water, and some of them use it to extremes, basically. Yeah.
So how do we make sure that this is done, being that you've got a bit of a turnover in your department? Because I think it needs to be done.
Yeah, it just needs to be highlighted, yeah.
and I'll be talking to the new replacement
Excellent.
when she gets here. Right, so that's an action item. Any other questions?
Glenn, I guess the big issue in the report is the unfunded capital renewals and the unfunded new asset expenditure. And we do say on page, was it page 68, that council is committed to funding, maintenance, rework and upgrades. But we don't appear to have a plan. We do say we're actively exploring alternative funding options. But we don't really tell the community what they might be or where the money is going to come from. So when will that be included in the long-term financial plan? Clive, will it be the next revision of the long-term financial plan? Or?
So on page 61, where it says there's been no allocation of the long-term financial plan, that's because there has been no asset management plan for these assets. So I couldn't put a value in there.
Yeah.
So we go in next.
So in the next, as always, as soon as the asset management plan is adopted or a revaluation has occurred, they get put into the next annual review. So of the asset management plan.
So I just wonder if putting a report out to the community that says we can't fund these assets is whether we need to add something to that says that, well, we will fund them, but at this point in time, we haven't got anything in the long-term financial plan. It's just that it's left hanging. So it's sitting there as, well, we can't fund these things.
To comment that once the plans are in place, then they will inform the next long-term financial plan.
So Glenn's quite rightly in the asset management plan, I think it's on page 3 or 4, he talks about there's no allocations in the long-term financial plan. He's got the dates there. But, maybe, Glenn, you just need to put like an additional sentence and saying on the next annual review, these capital expenditure amounts will be included in the next revision of the long-term financial plan. So it's not like, and we're not funding them. It's like, now we know what the cost is. We will fund them in the next version of the long-term financial
additional
plan.
income or cost to the user if needed to make that even.
Oh, that's right. And obviously not just the capital expenditure, but the depreciation. Now we've got a better depreciation amount.
We need to make sure the general ratepayer isn't paying for Bohill.
It's like the swim system where the costs are going up because we now know what they cost. Yeah.
The Minute Secretary's made a note of that as an action plan, so that's fine.
Yeah. So from the previous calculations I've done, both are at reasonably high, high enough amounts to cover those. Whether I've just got to look at the cash flow and that in the future for the capital expenditure. But I think previously I've said, if we were to stop, we may have to give a refund to the people that money's been drawn from back to those properties. Yep.
Any other questions?
Just further to that, I think it's obviously local government accounting, but in terms of the way that we fund the new assets, it is always interesting to me because we effectively fund them through depreciation. But they appear here as a lump sum. So they appear in the year that we're going to spend the money as $86,000 that we're going to spend, which is fine. That's a cash flow. But in reality, they'll come back through a depreciation charge, not through, and making that link is quite difficult because again, we say we can't fund them, whereas in reality we can because we just loan some, we'll raise a loan and we'll buy the assets and
quite possibly the amount we're charging could be enough, But then it's the two between your budgeting on depreciation, but if you're keeping the what's like the fund or the pool of money which is related to that, that should possibly be based on the cash flow.
Yeah.
So one depreciation using going forward, but even though if you've got figures, a big enough window going forward, you can use capex. And
because in reality, the people who consume the asset should be paying for it over the next 10, 20,
that's right.
50 years, not the people
and have enough adequate funds going forward. Not to be just in time. Where we've kind of got that feedback from CMWS, they're saying, "Oh, well, don't charge us." When you do the work, a couple of sort of large schemes like Brenda Park, etc., have come back and said, "Well, when you actually do it, then send us a bill for it." I don't think the average person would appreciate getting like a $5,000 or $10,000 bill,
especially if they just moved in yesterday.
Yes,
that's right. I think they would be saying, "You haven't managed the system appropriately. Why weren't you?" Charging for a little bit of extra each year, so we wouldn't have this big shock. So, but I think there's a lot of people with vested interest, and quite possibly they say, "We'll just keep delaying it because who knows? I might be around in 5 years' time." So, it's
400 to me. That's about $14,400, which council should be charging the Bow Hill resident for use of the water because it's the same as leasing. Okay. Any further questions? Yes.
Last question. There's talk in the audit report. They talk about the footpaths and curbs, and are they going to be part of the transport assets? So when you do the transport asset management plan, the footpaths and curbs, I assume, will be all part of that sort of revaluation coming through there.
Through the chair, no, they were done separately prior to myself. So you have a separate footpath, separate curb and channel. Then being the roads, they're called transport, but it's all unsealed and sealed roads.
Right.
But some councils do amalgamate the three and call it transport.
Right. Okay. Because the SCOSA recommendation was for footpaths and curbs asset management plan to be completed as a priority, and
they were.
Oh, so they've been done. They've been done in the past.
Okay. All that needs to be done is more current version.
So that was just at that snapshot of time, what was due. And now, just as the auditors have looked at us, they're saying, well, your land and buildings asset management plan, you've done revaluation, yet to do the asset management plan, you need to complete that so you can then put that into your long-term financial plan to ensure that you've got the latest figures for sustainability. And also the next one will be roads, which is the valuation was doing it 1st July 2026, and an asset management plan will follow. So, and obviously that's probably the most material one, I suppose, and it's got the lowest useful life. So it's basically got the highest of depreciation.
These are the last two
long-term financial plans.
These are the last two asset management plans to be done, aren't they? The rest is all in place now.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They're just now we're basically on revisions, and all the councils I've been to, the more times you revise that, the more you finesse it and get it better and better. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? There being none, the proposal is on the top of page 58, that the report be received and that it be approved for release for public consultation. Well, I think that's council's going to do that rather than this committee doing it. That would be fair. So we need to amend that, and subject to the outcomes of public consultation, council receives a further report to consider and endorse the plan for adoption. I'll move those. Is there a seconder? Any discussion? There being none, all those in favour? Good. Right. That's 7-3. 7.4. Who's going to talk about that? You are, Clive.
I can talk on that. Yep. Item 7.4, which is the CEO's annual report on internal control practices. This report is an opportunity for the Audit Risk Committee to review and comment on the annual report of the CEO in relation to the policies and procedures adopted by the Council to evaluate and improve the efficiency of the internal controls. Presently, Council does not have an internal audit function, but it should be noted that the Council has entered into a process with UHY over the last couple of years, and they've completed an independent baseline assessment of Council's internal financial controls. They've reviewed the implementation of the reviewed recommendations from the independent baseline assessment of Council's internal financial controls and developed an assurance map of the Council's entire risk environment. And the next steps will be with UHY to undertake and develop an internal audit program and implement that audit program. So I imagine probably this time next year, and I've highlighted with Natalie that we need to push that project on. But in the interim, if a council doesn't have a internal audit procedure, the requirement is that you have this annual report, which is given to the Audit Risk Committee.
Thank you. Questions?
Just wondered if we should add to the report a comment that the external auditors look at internal control and they give us a clean, well, not a clean bill of health, but a clean report. And I just wondered if we should add something to the CEO's report, which says to the effect that the external auditors, because it just adds weight, a little bit of weight to the report.
Yeah, I'd probably just probably add the interim report.
Yeah, because
they haven't really made that.
No, but the previous year's auditors would have done so. I think we got a clean bill of health in 25-26.
True, but I think it's leading about the year that's gone, just gone, like 2025-26. It's about the internal control like that, and probably external auditor will say that we give an opinion on this financial year rather than what was last year or relying on information last year. Possible, but I would say that. Either way, I would say that for their liability, they would definitely say that.
Yeah,
and they would stick to that as well.
Through you, Chairman, I'll go back to the comment about the interim. I think the interim report, I think, is something which is a valid conclusion.
I can we can add to the minutes to recognise that during the interim report there was no items of high risk. And in total only 5 other items found, being 3 medium and 2 low. If not, I'll amend that to be the correct way around.
They're fairly benign issues.
That's right.
A plan of action anyway.
It does add weight to our report, to the CEO's report, I think. But
right, any other questions? Okay, the recommendations at the bottom of page 234, that the report be received and that the work undertaken is aligned to providing an adequate level of internal control. I'll move that. Is there a seconder? Thank you. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favour? Thank you. All right, 7.5 on term financial.
Just for the chair, this is just to give an update to the Audit and Risk Committee of what occurred after the May meeting. So basically, just to give you a quick rundown, when the recommendation from the Audit and Risk Committee, that version of the draft long-term financial plan and the annual business plan went to Council. Council decided to have one amendment. That one amendment was to reduce the rate of rate increase for existing ratepayers or existing properties from 4.64 to 3.64. And that was based on the economic situations and also that there was a higher than expected growth. Instead of 0.5 as per the long-term financial plan, it was 1%. So council chose to go ahead with the public consultation. Obviously, we had the public consultation. There was 3 responses received in relation to the annual business plan and budget, and there was no submissions for the long-term financial plan. What then did happen was, after the public consultation and the report for adoption, management presented that there would be we could look at a reduction from 3.64 to 2.9%. And that was so basically for the adopted, and that was after council having a briefing and going through the budget and finding a number of savings, and they're listed on the bottom of page 243 and on the top of page 244. So not only council looked at improving the operating result, then that gave scope for a lower reduction of rate income. So then we went from 3.64 to 2.9, and that's what was adopted.
Thank you. Any questions?
Just to say that we're thrilled about the rate. Yeah.
We're thrilled about all the work that's been done.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Well, it was a really good outcome, really good results, I think. I just wondered about the reduction in employee costs associated with unfilled positions of 505,000. It seems to me that's a lot of money for a reasonably small council. Is that putting a strain, or is that achievable, I guess, is the question.
So that's,
are we putting a strain on administration?
So that was, there was a number of positions what were proposed positions. So like one of those was a part-time media person, a part-time economic development officer, and then there was a number of positions within infrastructure. We knew that they weren't going to be appointed straight off, so those have been effectively put into the budget, and I don't see any issues. I haven't had any feedback from any of the directors. So
these were proposed positions rather than existing positions.
Yeah. They're through the different various reviews and wants. Council probably done without a number of positions and chose to go without further and keep those interim arrangements. So like instead of having a part-time person for media, it was decided that we would still just do our media through either partly in-house and also when required we go out to a consultant, a media consultant. So
okay.
It's also been a deferral of a part of the community development division planning structure, a staffing structure as well, which we thought could wait a little while till we see how we go with our sustainability. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry,
I was just going to say that the title of the report is Update on the Long-Term Financial Plan and Your Business Plan Budget, but there's not a lot of information on the long-term financial plan in the paper, but that's as an aside.
Yeah, I suppose what's occurred is we've our long-term financial plan takes the first year adopted budget, so it's affected the base of that basically.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, that's it from me.
I suppose just to add to that, we're still forecasting surpluses in the future. It's by tightening the belt a little bit more.
Well, the challenge is the longer you go out, the less relevant it is because different circumstances can change.
Yeah, that's right.
Because when you've got people like we have in the US that wake up and change their mind every day. Not helpful. Right, any other questions? There being none, the recommendations in the middle of page 242 that the update be received. I move that to be the case. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for seconding it. Is there any further discussion? There being none, all those in favour? Thank you. Right, 7.6.
7.6, but
Yep.
business continuity plan update. Pretty well straightforward report there. Staff have just gone through and just ensured that contact details are correct. We saw that as items that need to be updated. So we'll continually update the plan without going to. We're not changing the plan. We're just updating like my position. Like the position that Paul's taken over, etc. We've gone through that, and there was a number of suppliers. Like we've changed our the management of our phone system from one supplier to another with the installation of a new system. So we're basically ensuring that the plan's up to date as far as contacts are concerned, and basically
Noting.
we're just noting that the business continuity plan be received and the report.
Questions?
I was just going to ask, we look at the critical issues that we have to deal with, and one of them is paying our people. I just wonder did we consider paying suppliers as being a critical issue during?
Yes.
Yeah, so it is deemed a high risk or critical to our operations, but I can't remember now. It's the trigger is we've estimated it would be something like 28 days without a service where we would really get issues with our creditors.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wondered if you need to add something as being fairly critical to keep supplies coming in, but.
It's quite interesting because we used to say CMWS is critical as well, and I can't remember, I think we said 24 hours and then we had the flood. Like that 24 hours just got blown out of the water. You say, well, there's some instances where you just can't do anything about it. Yeah. So we're all much wiser, and the plan keeps on evolving as it should as a live document, and all those learnings get put back into it.
The real learning also is that we should build swims facilities above flood level rather than be part of the flood level.
Because when I learnt we didn't, I just assumed that's why we had them, because they were higher.
Right past the Walker Flat one on a regular basis, and it's, yes.
The design is only the irrigated portion is above the floodplain. Yeah. And it's interesting because we've had pushback with a number of schemes where it would say, your scheme would be more resilient if we put a rising main, and and they say, well, we don't want a rising main. It's
Haven't been through a flood.
that's right.
All right, any other questions?
I just said about the updating.
Okay, the recommendation is in the middle of page 270 that the plan be received. I move that to be the case. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Is there any discussion? There being none, all those in favour? Thank you. Next one. Emergency.
Emergency management plan. There's two attachments there. One is the current emergency management policy, and then there's the new template which has been given by the LGA, which was only released in January 2026 after waiting like a delay of 3 years. So therefore, it was completely different format. So that's why there's no tracking on it, and it's there. And that's for your information, and that will follow the endorsement when it goes to council later on.
Thank you. Any questions?
Good policy. I think it's well written. I just wondered how do we get to the point of an emergency declaration? Who decides that there's an emergency? Is that state government? How does that process happen?
Yeah, so
suddenly you're in an emergency
Well,
situation.
it is. I mean, coming up this afternoon, there was an emergency down at Port Adelaide where there's a storage facility on fire and sulphur everywhere. So that was the fire brigade issue. That's, I presume, fire, police, ambulance, they've all got that capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether it falls under the same minister or not. Probably not. They've all probably got their various powers under their different portfolios. Leading up to the flood, it was very interesting that the state government didn't want to even talk about possibility of
They kept talking about the high water situation rather than flood.
Yes, I did a presentation at a conference and I said we weren't allowed to use the F word. We weren't allowed to use the flood word. Basically everyone thought it was about swearing. And and they kept on correcting it. So it's only high water because once the state government talks about a flood, then that opens up the requirements to do a whole lot of number of things. So they're very, very hesitant. So the council, I think we declared it an emergency about a week prior to the state government. So
we did a lot of advocacy to make sure that, because I said to the Premier, like, we can't afford to build levees and things, so we need you to call the emergency so that we can get these things in place.
Yeah. So presumably somebody somewhere has to say it's an emergency, and then it kicks off all these actions and everything.
It was very unexpected that the Premier called it so early, but for us, it was a lifesaver. Because then, as soon as that's called, SES takes over, the government funding 50-50 gets in so that we didn't have to worry about
funding, federal,
Okay. Any further discussion?
Like it's like they don't like the word drought, isn't it? They're saying,
no water about that.
Like the drought seemed to was forgotten as soon as the algae outbreak. It was kind of like it just disappeared, as if it didn't exist, unfortunately.
Yes, now we've got bird flu. It's not one thing, it's another.
Yes.
Right, are there any more further questions? There being none, I move that the plan and report be received. Do I have a thank you? Seconder? Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favour? Thank you. Right, work health safety update.
Just nice and short and brief. Once again, on an annual basis, work health and safety update, and the report just gives an update progress of work health and safety management systems, and it gives an overview of the workers' compensation rebate with the attachment, update on the worker health, safety and return to work plans and programs and procedural validations, and internal audits which have been taken by the local government services with the council. So they are included in there. The attachment shows that council's working towards a improvement. There was, like, the rebate works on the last 4 years of claims, and also that's one part of it. So if you have 1 year, it obviously takes 4 years for that to cycle back out of your average. But we've been like, this is the second lowest loss ratio on the 4 years average that we've had over the last 4 years, which is good. And obviously the rebate entitlement was a 94% closeout. So that helps with our rebate. So give you an idea. So what happens is the previous action plan for the previous year then is used to calculate the current year's premium. Because obviously we still haven't. So the current action plan, which has got to be closed out by end of September, will then be used for the 2027-28 premium. So,
The questions? I tried to get my head around those numbers on that sheet that you're looking at, and I got my calculator out and couldn't work out how it was working. But
so the when you look at the attachment where it says 4 year claims for the period, the only one you could have validated would have been can you validate those? 4 year claims, it should be the average. No, maybe even would have named the previous year. So these are the 4 year averages, not the years of claims, my understanding is.
I was trying to work out the difference between the contribution for the period, 1.5 million, and then you've got gross contribution, which is 484,000. And I'd just get up again.
Perhaps you can take that offline with Clive and go through it separately. Any other questions? Okay, I move that the recommendation in the middle of page 330 that the report be received. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Any discussion? There being none, those in favour? Yeah. 7.9, sustainability.
As previously, we give an update of sustainability reports. Just to give you an idea that on a monthly basis, the council also receives an update of the sustainability gains, one-off, reoccurring and non-reoccurring, and they become an attachment to the monthly financial reports which go to council. Historically, there was a large list of items which would be included in looking at improving as far as sustainability. The low-hanging fruit was picked first, obviously, for the quick wins, and now you're looking at the next items, and what's in particular has been prioritised is the tourism, heritage, maritime assets, being the Maritime Committee, and their associated assets, and our community facility assets and buildings, which is actually a portion of our land and buildings, and those have actually been highlighted in green in that report there.
Thank you. Any questions?
Just with the whole sustainability thing, I think one thing is to see what we're doing by way of sustainability, but the other is to keep in people's mind the point of it. So for me, the point of it is to look at, in some ways it could be related to things like the potential for improved service levels, like reinvesting some when we reach a certain point, subject to a SCOSA report, for instance, loans and debt improvement, and rates management as consequences and benefits. And why are we doing it is not just because the SCOSA said so, but we're doing it because we want in the long run to be able to achieve things for the ratepayers. So I'd like to see some kind of, even if they're sort of generic statements about that, included in these sustainability reports.
Noted. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, the recommendation is that the report and the update be received. I move that. Is there a seconder? Thank you. Is there any further discussion? There being none. All those in favour? Thank you. The old hairy chestnut. Long service leave.
As our annual reports we always give, item 7.10 is leave liability, and basically over the last 12 months, council's current liability for annual leave has decreased by just over $64,000, and council's current long service leave liability has increased marginally from 1.208 million to 1.216 million. Overall, the total liability has decreased.
Marginally.
Marginally. But taking into account, you have annual increases of people. So, it would be good to see like a real decrease in that, but over a period of time, I might be able to add to it at the end of August.
Yeah.
That's very kind of you. Selflessly.
And maybe Ben fixed it last week.
Possibly, yeah, I think so as well. So
how long have you been here for?
7 years.
I kept on thinking, he's just a newbie on the block. But yeah.
It's a first council, isn't it, really?
Any discussion?
I just wonder if we could add in the discussion that it's also a risk of fraud. So it's
I've explained to this committee prior to your joining us that APRA make sure they actually tell the bank which staff are going on leave and when. My manager was told to take 18 months leave, and it wasn't please, it was you're taking 18 months leave effective immediately. So they're far more rigorous, but for exactly the same reason.
Yeah.
So that's been noted in prior meetings and minutes. Any other discussion?
Yep.
I move that the report be received. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Madam Mayor. Is there any further discussion? There being none, all those in favour? Thank you. Right, 11, policy and procedure review. Again, Clive.
Well, it might be because we haven't got Vicky here, have we? Carrie, you take it?
Sure. A brief, I think, twice yearly report that we provided the Audit Risk Committee, just to give an overview of where we're at with our policies, procedures, etc. So happy to take any questions in regards to any of them.
We highlighted this last year. There's policies like the CCTV, which has to be updated. The elected member records management, it says policy being considered. Be interested in what elected members are meant to do with their Facebook pages and things like that. It's never really noted. Footpath policy, I've just got a question mark. I don't know why. Motor vehicle policy, that's one that I think we wanted to do a bit of review on. So I think that would be good to discuss with the next CEO.
Yeah, we've brought it up, and as it says, it's currently under review, but we've raised that over the last couple of years, haven't we? That we think it's important. Yeah.
Yep. And then you've got your road closure policy and your road reserve adjacent to River Murray and your roads construction, which were all due back in 2014. So we're hoping that they get done pretty soon.
Yeah, it is my intention to undertake
we love having a governance manager now.
to have a look and also take a desktop review of what policies we do have, obviously current and due for review, but also what we can look to consolidate where appropriate. So that was certainly on my to-do list over the next few months, and I hope to provide a better update maybe to the next half-time review.
Wonderful. And I guess the other point that I've raised with Ben, and hopefully he's passed it on, but the elected member benefits and allowances policy, because the mayor has an office, the mayor has to declare a conflict of interest and walk out of the room when any discussion on that policy. I think it would be better to have a separate policy for the mayor so that they can be in on the discussion of elected members' allowances.
Any other questions?
The notion of having all the statutory policies fixed to the election, is that a statutory provision? Is that why we do that?
I believe that's why it's done, so that we can easily and quickly identify what ones that we have to have. I will undertake a review of why we haven't separated out like that.
It just strikes me that you're burdening the new council with all these policy reviews as soon as they're walking through the door, and
they may not understand.
Yeah.
In the next week.
When it comes to behavioural management policy, it might be good to have that in place at the beginning.
So the requirement is with a majority of them obviously within the 12 months of the new elected body. So I would look to stagger those to not throw them into their face in the first month of them getting newly elected to council. So certainly something we're looking at, and caretaker is on for review and to go to September council. So probably need to have a brief conversation on that as well, just to clarify a couple of points.
It's a bit of an interesting one, because as a new elected member, if you don't understand the policies, then you're actually enforcing them, or letting management enforce them where you mightn't agree with them. So then it's kind of like, well, I'd like to, maybe strategically, because that's the framework of how the council works, that they need to look at that, because if they think there's something going wrong, I always say, well, is it in a policy? Oh, yeah, it is in a policy, so the policy needs to be changed, And
you got all the education when they first come in through the door, and you've got to,
But hopefully they've been looking at council meetings for the last 2 years.
So we didn't decide that far ahead. Well, I did. Well, you were already here. But the other side of that is that it made me read them all in the first year.
Yes, true.
So I learnt a lot reading them, whether they needed change or not. Yeah. So
yes, no, that's a good
part
point.
of the education.
Any other questions? There being none, I move that the policy and procedures review report be received. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Is there any further discussion? There being none, all those in favour? Thank you. Right. Monthly reports to council. There's probably not a lot to be said apart from noting them. I've picked up a couple of things that I've spoken to Clive about, just getting a copy of the SWIMS report, having historically been on the SWIMS committee and living in the area. I'm just interested as to how the numbers are calculated, particularly under the new full attribution process. So Clive's very kindly said he'll send that to me.
Let us know if you have any questions.
Well, I've already had a couple of questions from residents,
Yeah.
so I'll look at the report and then I'll be able to deal with them.
Wonderful.
That's how we all, I think.
So there's really nothing to say, Clive?
No, that's basically as it reads. Yeah, we've incorporated the a copy of the reports there.
Yeah. Can I just ask the elected members, do you get value out of this report?
Absolutely.
We notice when there's bits missing, like when the rates arrears don't come up, we say, hang on, we haven't had that for 3 months. So
So they definitely do.
But I think this was put here for you and I and Peter, because we don't actually know what happens at council meetings. And but for this, we would still not know.
Yeah, is if you think it's adequate, to give that type of report, and and obviously if you've at other councils, you can see what type of reports they give as well. Yeah.
there's a bit of a background in that there was something that went on at council that wasn't reported in audit committee. And as mayor, I went, but hang on, I think my audit committee should know about this. So that's where this came in. So they might pick up stuff that I or client
and get feedback from things that we've recommended to council that they may not adopt or they may seek to modify for adoption.
Yeah. So my read through of this report was that we say it's an accrual report, but it's not an accrual report because we haven't accrued the expenses. So we're looking at variances which may or may not be variances because we just.
So the uniform presentation of finance is the top part is accrued. Yeah, if you look at the annual financial statements, and the bottom part is based on cash flow.
So I guess my point is that when you read through this report, all the way through the analysis, it says we're expecting other invoices to come in. We're waiting for other invoices to come in, and therefore, when we say that expenditure is $6 million under, it's not. We don't know really what it is, but you've got a purchase order book which tells you what's coming through or should be coming through. But I guess. My question is really, are we spending finance time appropriately in producing this report when perhaps a quarterly report would be a bit more meaty and a bit better to put together? So
there's two things. They get a budget review on a quarterly basis, so that should satisfy that.
Right.
But the other is the timing of the report. Unfortunately, we get invoices, on the 20th of the month, and they relate, or even past near the end of the month, and they relate to the previous thing. So then it talks about the timing of, and we actually pulled back the council meeting 1 week, and that was the main reason because it was too early. So 1 week later gave us a better look at it, but still not the exact. And I did look at Murray Bridge maybe about 18 months ago, and they only report on not the last month, the previous month to that.
Which I think would be much better. And
because
the other thing is what we've got is a list of variances, but we've got no analysis of what the variances really are, and which ones are important and which ones aren't important. So, for instance, renewals may be really important, but we may be behind on our renewal program, but it's hard to work that out because all we're reporting on is that we've got a $3 million variance or something. And so really the analysis is missing and I suspect because you haven't got time to do it, because it's really, as you said, the timing is really quick, and therefore it would be better to wait until the following month or even do it quarterly to get a better picture.
Yes, so some of the biggest items are the capital expenditure, new and renewal, and finance put it together. But we can say that because there was 17 resheets and only 7 of them have been completed and it's 3/4 of the way through a year. But finance doesn't know the reason why. Is it because of, the renewal crew went and were doing the base of Murraylands Road? that's what the reason was. Possibly for the last couple of years, because they've actually put our renewal construction crew and they've been working on Murraylands Road.
Yeah.
And
I understand all the issues, but I think it doesn't jump off the page of the report. It really just says that, well, we're $2 million under in renewals. And
I'll ask at next council meeting if you remind me. But we generally do get a question each month on this financial report. So and elected members must be getting value out of it. And like Clive said, we did shift our meeting back a week because if our meeting was on the second Tuesday and it was the 8th, and they had to prepare the report by the 1st.
Well, exactly. That's
Whereas
exactly
now
right.
they've got an extra week really to prepare that report.
But even a week, as Clive says, if the invoice is not coming in until the 20th of the month or something, then
there's been no real big end of year surprises for us. So it must be
a critical time, not so much during the year, but at the end of the year, that's the critical time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I don't think there's been, like, we've always continued to improve, and look, that could have been, operational because we had vacant positions basically, but that, we haven't had the scenario of, the third budget review and, the monthly reporting, and then all of a sudden, oh my goodness, what happened at year end? It's the completely opposite happened. We were over budget on a whole lot of items. It's been reasonably consistent. And, with the CapEx, I always look at this and I actually basically add an extra month on, to do my own analysis. That would be the worst case scenario. And that's nearly what happens at the end of the year. You can say, you talk about the 13th month of the accounting period, there's nearly like an extra month of expenses. So, if you want to look at those, there's two ways of going. Either you don't report on the previous month and you go to the previous month of that, or you make your own analysis and weigh it up and say, well, the worst case scenario, we kind of like into the 11th month, they're reporting on the 11th month. Well, I'm going to add another 11th onto that as the worst case scenario. And how do we still look as far as expenses is concerned?
I don't think you want to make numbers up. I think you just want to.
No, that's what I do. I'm just saying for the elected members in their own minds, they would say, well, the report is early. We talked about this in the audit risk committee. If I did my own scenario of saying, well, what if there's another whole month of expenses occurring, except salaries and wages, maybe depending on salaries and wages, how the fortnight falls, there could be another fortnight which has just been missed out. So you can maybe add half a month for that. And they're the type of things I do.
Every month when I was in accounting, I'm sure we did a journal at the end of each month, didn't we? It was just
they can. We would actually have to ensure that everyone's had their timesheets up to date, and then say up to the 31st of August, apply costing at a stage and have it put in. Yep.
And one elected member certainly likes the loans. If they're $1 out from the comparison from last month, she picks it up.
Yeah.
So they look at it quite thoroughly.
Yeah.
It's what's on my checklist.
Clive checks that every month.
Any other questions? No. Okay. So on that basis, I propose that the monthly financial reports to council be received. I've got a seconder. Thank you. Mayor again. Any further discussion? There being none. All those in favour? Thank you. Right. Go, Clive, when you're ready.
Okay, awareness of council reports. Quite simply, we've given you the order of business for the May, June and July council agendas and items that we think that there was some type of financial impact, just for heads up for all especially the independent members, but it's probably a good reminder for all the members of the committee to see what's decision council.
I didn't think we had to read them because we've already seen them.
Any questions? Noting. All right, I move that the report be received. Seconder, thank you. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favour? Thank you. Right, we're on the home track now.
Last one. through the chair, item 7.14, monitoring the Audit and Risk Committee work program. As per the attachment, and probably the only thing worth noting is that there was 2 items which were from the previous meeting, which were now satisfied in this meeting, which were the updated financial sustainability report and the review of the monthly financial reports to council. So that was those 2 items were a catch up in this agenda. Being carried forward for May, and also what we failed to put in this agenda as per the schedule was the annual report of investment loans and treasury policy, and that will be given to the Audit and Risk Committee in the November. It was just due to kind of like resources. I've actually authorised it. It's ready to go now. But
Any questions?
So looking forward to next year. I know you won't be
next year, this year, or
beyond November 2026.
okay, yeah.
So presumably the delay in the council elections will mean will be a bit of a problem for budgets and long-term financial plans, all that sort of stuff. I'm just wondering how that will fit into.
I don't think it will. I watched very carefully this year, and it wouldn't have, like, we would just had some workshops and that's all able to be watched on YouTube. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference, to be honest. Unless you get a whole council in that want to throw out all the finances, but then you've got to question what the Act says and question them, and I guess you've got to have some tough discussions.
Just in terms of public consultation and getting your business plan in place within a time frame.
Yeah, so we always
statutory time frame.
We always have our meeting in May, and then public consultation in June, and then we receive the consultation in July. Oh no, anyway, we receive in June.
Yep. So audit risk and also council look at the draft going out to consultation, and council makes a decision on that May, and then consultation from the annual business plan and budget and the long-term financial plan is received in June. Council do not rush into a decision. They have a month to think about it, and then in July.
The timing shouldn't affect us at all.
And also it's been decided that caretaker mode won't affect that because of the special circumstances.
But we don't do it early anyway. So
I probably think it's like the new elected members might be in a bit of a whiz. Probably they might get a bit giddy, like, oh my goodness,
will feel sorry.
We're making a decision already, and like we've just formed the seats.
Fortunately, they're just going to consultation, and then the public can tell them.
Yeah. Good. Any other questions? Okay, on that basis, I move the report be received. All those in favour? Thank you. Mayor again was the second.
Yes.
Secondee. Right. Other business. Andy? Adam? No.
Sorry.
Hello?
Other than saying thanks very much for being a very good committee, and this will be my last one, unfortunately.
Oh, yes.
I've got 2 items. One is that the LGA was going to conduct its second education process for chairs, which I nominated for, and I sat there for half an hour waiting on the end of a screen, and I made several phone calls, none of which got answered or dealt with. So I don't know what went wrong, but
I went.
Did you? Yeah, I must say I was impressed with the first one, and that's why
the second one was pretty good. Yeah. Tim was there. Tim played a fairly leading part in the finance discussion and all that sort of stuff. So
you went in person and it happened, and you were just online and they didn't let you in.
Yep, and I kept making phone calls.
I heard you were from Mid-Murray, sorry.
Travel from Mid-Murray.
The second item that I've got is to have a formal thank you to Clive. I think I joined this committee about 13 or 14 years ago, and I'd have to say that things were not quite as they are today. I think Clive and his team, and it was a team effort, have done an amazing job to get this council both financially stable and secure, but also the quality of the reports and the confidence that we as a committee have in him has been absolutely first class. So, Clive, you've certainly left the joint in better condition than you inherited it, and this council should be very grateful, and its ratepayers, for all the time and effort. And in some occasions, I know it involved significant amounts of overtime to be able to get the job done. So from
Not
me,
overtime unless he claims it, so.
he did the work, he made it happen. He's done a tremendously good job, and we'll miss you. So I hope you have good long-term health and happiness in your retirement, and you deserve to have a good one. So from my point of view as chair, you've done a fantastic job. You've actually made the rest of us look pretty good. So
Yes.
thank you very much.
And look, there was some people. I talk about the Titanic and how long it takes to turn the Titanic around. And there was a couple of people that actually turned the wheel prior to me. So I was
right.
Well, if the ship hadn't quite moved, but the rudder had moved, and I think there's a couple of things. I think the council's quite lucky in that we've had a good team as far as internally, and also good partnership with the elected members. Definitely, if you don't have those two groups aligned, it won't happen. So that was very good, and it's just kind of come to fruition. So,
well, I remember the Robin Bourne days. I remember the days that we had an employee who became a councillor, and unfortunately, I said something a little bit silly to him, and it happened. He fell off his bike or got pushed off. But most of what I'm concerned about is the outcome, and I know you put in a huge effort and you've led a team, and the team's only as good as its leader. So again, well done, and thank you very much. On that basis, I declare the meeting closed at 3:22 p.m. After confirming that the next meeting's on the 5th, and I plan to be at that one, and a few others to go.
Excellent.
Thank you, and good afternoon.